There's notification.
Really?
Yeah.
What's going on, y'all? We live. Happy Monday. I want to build the excitement. Colin was supposed to come on Thursday, Wednesday,
Sometime last week.
Wednesday. It was Wednesday, and my mother-in-law was a little under the weather, so she was my babysitter, and she had to cancel last minute. She had to go home, so we rescheduled. But I'm actually calling. Just to be totally truthful, honest, Mondays are the best days for like reach and engagement on LinkedIn. Just a little pro tip: if you're trying to decide what days to post on LinkedIn, Mondays, the earlier in the week better. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are great. Thursdays and Friday tails off a little bit. So that's just a little fun free bit of information. But Colin,
did not know that.
Yeah, there you go. So Colin and I were just chatting about some other things. Colin, when did we meet again? When was the first time we met?
It may have been 2017, 2018 down in Chattanooga.
Yeah. So this relationship was forged by a conference. Again, get out there, do the conference thing. It works, I promise. And Colin and I have been friends since. But I'm really excited about today's conversation. We're going to talk work stuff. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's all going to be centered around work-life balance, yada, yada. But we're going to talk about some fun stuff that I really haven't talked about a lot. PTO, hobbies, taking care of yourself. What does that look like? Colin and I both have I was going to say a passion project, but like we have hobbies, right? Colin likes to run, which is crazy person. My body would literally just break if I ran long distances. And then I play ice hockey. And
my body would break if I played ice hockey.
There you go. So really excited to catch up with Colin today. Few announcements as always. First off, please comment, say hey, let us know where you're tuning in from. Right. So I've just coined this thing as a networking event. This is a networking event. You show up, you watch somebody, you watch me go live, you learn some things, you say hey, drop your name in the comments, tell us where you're tuning in from. And the reason why I say that is because so this way Dev can connect with Erica, can connect with JC, can connect with Richie, John, etc. And so very, very important. Even if you're watching this in the future, please comment. There's a lot of people that still come through here. Also, another thing, I got a DM the other day from one of my usuals, or whatever they're called. One of y'all that tune in constantly. And they actually made a good point. Actually, I think it was John, actually, which he's here. I just saw his name. John actually said this to me. John said, hey, can you let people know to send a note in the LinkedIn invite that you came from Guidance Counselor 2.0? Because he says, I have a lot of people connect with me, but I don't know where they came from. So this is a really good point. Please make sure whenever you are connecting with people, always drop a note. Right? Always drop a note. I don't know where Colin went. Hopefully he comes back here in a second. But drop a note. Hey, Colin.
Hey, I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that was crazy. You just dropped. So please drop a note. That'll be great. Second thing, ask questions. Colin is a very busy man. And this is one of the few times that you can get an engineering manager like one-on-one and he doesn't bill you. Right? So ask questions. Please be engaged. The final thing, actually, I have a few more things. We got quite a little bit of announcements. I want to give a shout to that conference. They are the official coffee sponsor of the show. So I'm not drinking it right now. Clark, I know you're here. I'm not drinking at the moment. I drank it all last week. I got a new shipment of coffee in. I just want to try something today. But that conference does have coffee beans. But Clark puts on an amazing conference called That Conference. I'll be keynoting in July, which I'm very, very thrilled about. Colin was in the Austin one in January. And so I would highly check it out. Go sign up. After going to conferences last week, it's worth it. You need to be at conferences, people. You need to be at conferences. It's where the magic happens. Next thing. So I actually, I don't know if you remember, I had a guest on the show, David Roberts. So David is a former developer turned recruiter. And he actually put out a book. And we talked about it and he loves what we're doing. And so we have an affiliate code, right? So essentially, if you buy the book, I get a little money on the side, right? Let's just call it what it is. But I actually really like what he's doing, right? I love guys that were once a developer that is a recruiter and trying to give back. So if you do want, I would highly recommend buying the book. Check it out. Use this link. And yeah, go support David. He's great. Final thing, actually, I think that was the final thing. Final thing. Again, I am with Vaco Global Solutions. So here's my little business plug, Vaco Global Solutions. We do everything across all different parts of your company, right? So IT, accounting, finance, ops, HR, marketing, you name it. So basically what we want to do is we want to be the one-stop shop where you don't have to use another recruiting firm, right? And so if you do want to use us, Colin and I already talked about it off air. SmileDirect Club has a massive recruiting team, so they don't need us right now. But if your organization is hurting, like if you're like, Taylor, I really like your content, but I'm a CPA and I'm a controller at a company, that's great. We have an entire division that does accounting and finance stuff. So hit me up. I'll make connections and we'll go from there. All right, that's enough. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. There's a lot of comments here. We got the crew out today. Colin, I promise you're going to start talking here in a second. Deb, Erica, JC, Richie, John, Taya, Clark, Alex, Joe, LinkedIn user. I'm pretty sure that's Jonathan, Riley, JC, Scott, John, groupies. Yeah, groupies. Allison, John. Let's see. Yes, it was John. Brett, Holly. It's great to see you. I know, Clark, don't be mad. I love all coffees. Joe, it's great to see you. Dev, let's see here. Alex, Fritzen. I love this so much. Awesome. Cool. Colin, let's give the people what they want. Who are you? What do you do? And we'll go from there.
So since the end of 2018, I've been working for SmileDirect Club. I started as a software engineer, and for the last 2 years or so, I'm the engineering manager of the front end teams. So basically everything with the website goes through one of my teams.
Nice. That's cool. Awesome. And what do you, so Colin, give a quick background about your backdrop here, because
background about the background.
Background about the backdrop. Go ahead.
So this is obviously not a very professional background. It's full of Coca-Cola bottles and Atlanta Braves bobbleheads. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. I was a Brave season ticket holder, a Falcon season ticket holder. And just because I now live in Nashville, Tennessee, doesn't mean my sports passions have changed. And in 2020, when we all got sent home for COVID, that like weird March 2020 time where nobody quite knew what was going on and all the news was at home, we all kind of noticed on my team at the time that if you had won an Emmy, suddenly it ended up like behind them, and they tried to make like these super professional backgrounds for the news. So with us being at home, we tried to make weird, strange backgrounds. So these Coke bottles and these bobbleheads were in a box, and they'd been in a box for years and years and years. And every time we moved, my wife's like, "What are you going to do with these?" And I always said, "I don't know, but I'm not getting rid of them." And now since March 2020, there's a shelf behind me with all of this stuff. Since then I've added lighting, so now you can see the bobbleheads better. But there's really no backstory other than March 2020. It was a weird time. I have a weird background, and now I still have a weird background come May. Happy May 1st, May 2023.
I love it. I love it. And so are those Coke bottles, are they all like limited runs?
Yeah, they're all like for a sports championship that an Atlanta team won or something that's like limited. It's not just like I just went down to Publix and got a 6-pack of Coke, because if I did that, I would drink it. All those bottles shouldn't be drunk. I'm sure they're all flat and probably toxic.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Colin. So let's get into the topic and why people are here to see you. So PTO, hobbies, and taking care of yourself. Let's just go ahead and start super high level. You and I were chatting backstage. Why is it so important to have hobbies and PTO and taking care of yourself?
So above all else, for me as when I was writing code every day, if I don't have a chance to take a step back and get away from a monitor and go outside or something, like you're going to get sloppy. And it's like, there was a point in my career where I would write code all day and then go home and work on a side project and then play video games. And I was always staring at a screen. Back in, I guess like 2016, 2017, my boss at the time actually peer pressured me into trying a triathlon, and I didn't really know how to swim. I owned a bike, but didn't really ride it. And that has become like my all-encompassing hobby. I had a triathlon over in Knoxville on Saturday. I usually get up around 5 a.m. to do training. It's very much away from the screen, away from writing code. And there's been so many times where like I've been in the pool swimming laps and I'll think like, oh my God, that's the fix for the bug. Like your brain being shifting into doing something else. Just you'll end up being more productive at the thing you're trying to be productive at.
I've noticed that, and I'm kind of curious about your behaviors and your tendencies. I've noticed specifically with me, you know, I've had a lot of engineering managers and leaders on the show, and we've talked about rest and working rest into sprints for engineers and having that time. Jason Langsdorff, for those of you who do not know him, he actually was the one. He was the very first conversation I had about rest about 2 years ago. He was the very first guy to start talking about rest. So it's been a fascinating topic, and I love talking about this. For me, Colin, I don't know when you feel like you hit a wall. Me is like around 3 or 4 o'clock. I start scrolling on TikTok or
Well,
scrolling on Twitter a little too much. Like I find myself just not engaged. And if a year ago, I would just kind of sit in it a little bit more. Now, the moment I catch myself, I get up out of my desk and I go, make the bed or clean the house, like do something like that, empty the dishwasher, just to try to like give my brain a break and still be productive. What's kind of your tendencies look like that maybe you've had to learn or relearn?
well, what you just talked about, I mean, I don't know what the right phrase is here, but there's two kinds of walls was the phrase that
Right.
popped into my mind. There's the I need to take 15 minutes and just go for a loop around the building if I'm in an office or around my neighborhood or whatnot. And then there's the I need to take a week off because I'm totally burned out.
Yeah.
And I think it's a skill like anything else, learning to recognize which one it is. Sometimes you just need a 15-minute walk. Sometimes you need a long weekend. Sometimes you need a week away from the
Right.
code. If
Right.
anybody from my team is watching or will watch this in the future, something I've always said to them 1,000 times over is let me know if you're hitting either one of those. And whenever anyone on my team ever takes a vacation, I always encourage them to like literally uninstall Outlook and Teams from the phone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to be on your vacation getting your pop-up notification on your phone about stand up or whatever the bug is,
Yeah.
because you're instinctively going to want to click on it and, oh, is this my bug? Is this something I have to fix? Could they
Right.
help me? And I don't want anybody to do that. When you're unplugging and you're
Yeah.
recharging, you can't half do it. And
Yeah.
that's why I always tell them like uninstall Teams. Like I literally don't want to hear from you until I see you next week.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So talk about how do you balance the 15 minuters, right? So let's talk about that and try to maybe give some. And also, by the way, Allison's talking about garden. Allison, there's a foot of snow building up out of your window. Allison is in Michigan. Allison's in Michigan. That's insane because it is sunny and 55 degrees and beautiful here right now.
It is
But that is,
wonderful in Nashville today.
I know. So what do you do in the 15 minutes, Colin? Like where you need a quick brain break? What's, because again, I want to share this stuff because maybe you do something that somebody else can implement, right? So
So for me, I'm usually pretty good at identifying I've got to take a step back because ESLint is bombing out, or I'm just not productive at writing this documentation or whatnot.
mhm,
What I would do in that 15 minutes where I just kind of need to take a step back and recharge, I don't think there's an answer that is like one size fits all. I think you kind of have to listen to your own body. Maybe it's for me, I want to go watch some highlights from the Braves game. I want to go walk outside. Like those are
yeah,
two totally different things. But like when I'm doing triathlon, my coach always says, like, listen to your body. I'd say the same thing here. Listen to your brain. It's
yeah,
telling you it's tired, but it's also going to probably on some level tell you what it needs to do instead to recharge.
yeah,
And I mean, there's obviously a time to power through if production is down. Like that's not the time to go take a
sure.
walk. But I've very rarely ever regretted just standing up from this desk and going somewhere outside and then coming back in 10 minutes or so and just starting fresh. I think there's always value in doing that.
So we both lead teams, and I think it's hard for people, and you got to create a safe place, right? I'm trying to figure out how to unpack this question a little bit because it's multifaceted. So managers have to create a safe place for their employees to feel comfortable taking time during the middle of the workday, right? Um, so one, you got to encourage your people and create a safe space for that. But two, on the other end of it, individuals, you got to communicate when you're taking time off, right? Just hey, dropping and doing it. But I would also encourage folks to do it more, right? Because I feel like right now, I feel like in today's society, and I think if there's one thing COVID has showed me with everybody is everyone's overworked, right? Everyone's taken on too much or has taken on too much, maybe trying to back out of it. I know I'm trying to back out of just all the work that I've taken on to try to get a little bit more even keeled. What would be your advice for people who maybe in their mind are struggling to take the time to get away from the desk because they feel like they're not being productive? Because I deal with that too.
Well, the longer term answer to that, I would say, is to cultivate a good relationship with your manager. Or
Yeah.
if you're in a manager position, your teammates, because you want ideally a world where if they aren't feeling up for it, or if something's bummed them out, or if they're stressed out, to feel comfortable bringing that to the table.
Yeah.
Like it's not like I expect them to tell me all about their personal lives, but if one of them shares that they're in the process of buying a house, I want to know that because I want to make sure that I don't
Yeah.
burden you with extra stuff while you're trying to sign your name 1,000 times and
Yeah.
deal with closings and all that type of stuff. And then the
Yeah.
inverse is true. If you're in that spot and you're kind of struggling with how to talk to your manager, I would say just go have the conversation. One
Yeah.
thing that I think is true that's happened with remote work and COVID is it's scarier to go ask for something via a screen or a Teams message or a Slack message versus if I was in the office, which I was every day until March 2020, like just going and talking to my manager or seeing them in the break room. Like it's
Yeah.
harder to read your team, it's harder to read your manager because all we get are our little dings on our phones and Slack messages. But if you've spent the time to try to cultivate some level of a relationship with the people you work with beyond work, which on some level is obviously kind of hard, but it's more about just kind of knowing each other's personalities. And
Sure.
then it's less scary to say, hey, like I'm having a day. Like, can you cover this meeting that we've got in 20 minutes because I need a sec and
Yeah.
let's catch up on the other side.
Yeah.
I would never say no. I want you in that meeting. Like I would reschedule it or I would cover for him or whatever. Most people, I think, and I'm certainly guilty of this for a lot of my career, is oh well, I'm asking for something that sounds bad. This is going to look poorly upon me.
Right. Right.
And in a manager spot, somebody bringing that to me, I'm going to think more highly of you because it's something that I need to know. If you're not ready for that meeting or you're not up for it, like that, the meeting's not going to go as well. So instead of being nervous about bringing that to your manager, look at it as I would hope most managers would be appreciative and respect that you're bringing it to them because it's helping both of our jobs be easier and it's important information to have.
Well, and it's the whole thing. And I want to get to comments here in a second because we got a few comments coming in. I want to get like managers can't help you unless they know.
Yeah,
Right. So it's like for us, both Colin and I leading teams, like if you're struggling or, you're stressed out, you're trying to sell a house or, you're dealing with sick kids and you're not telling me and your work starts to suffer, you're distracted or missing calls, like I can't help you unless you tell me. And so I would definitely come in at it from that perspective. If you feel bad doing it, try to change the narrative and be like, I need to just let you know this just to put this on your radar, right? And I think
for
that's
sure.
incredibly important.
It's the same kind of thing as this is kind of a different tangent, but during an interview where if there's 10 things that are listed on the job listing of technology you need to know, and I only know 7 of them, if somebody says directly to me, "Hey, I crush it at these 7, these other 3 I'm gonna need help with," that's
Mhm.
so much better than just saying, "Oh yeah, I know everything. I'm
Yeah,
ready for this job." Like the more honesty you can bring, the better it's going to be. Whether it's, "Hey, I'm struggling with this code. I'm not going to look down on you. I've broken the build 1,000 times,
yeah,
so it's not
yeah,
like I'm like some genius over here. Like, okay, let's screen share, let's help." The same's true of if there's something in your life that's going on. If it's going to, it's all the same kind of. We're
right,
problem solving. Whether
right.
it's, hey, ES Lint is angry or I have to meet with an appraiser in 30 minutes and I'm stressed about it.
Yeah,
One is code, one is not, but they both in some way have the same kind of impact.
100%, 100%. I want to get to the questions here. Joe, or not questions, comments. Joe, separate phones. I love that. Nothing work related on my personal phone. I've been at Vaco for so long that I just have one phone, one work phone. So, I mean, I kind of can't do that. One thing I've
On,
done, and
I would say on that, maybe I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
no, 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 you're fine. I interrupt people all the time.
Okay, fair enough. On iOS, there's focus mode, and you can toggle it and set up your own ones. I have one of my focus modes. I think I named it vacation or something. It just mutes all work notifications. So I don't want to carry 2 phones because then it's 2 things I have to charge and 2 things
Yes,
that would have a
seriously.
dead
I already
battery.
started on it.
But if there's a time that I like really need to disconnect and I don't want to have Teams notifications and stuff popping up on my screen, I
Yeah.
just toggle on that focus notification, and you can even set it to like come back in 15 minutes or an hour. So
I'm gonna need to talk to you about that. The one thing I do is I shut my whole phone down, not shut it down. I just do not disturb comes on my phone at 6 p.m. every night.
mhm,
So The only text that comes through on it is my wife's. That's
Yeah.
it. So do not disturb. But to be honest with you, it doesn't help. I'm on my phone too much sometimes. Elliot, devil's advocate time. It can be a double-edged sword too. It can be distracting in your shiny object that I'm guilty of wasting time in the day. I mean, here's the deal, right? I mean, I think it can be distracting if you find yourself doing it. If you're finding yourself kind of getting in this rut and communicating to your manager over and over, it's like, hey, I'm out again, I'm out again, I'm out again. That can be distracting. But I would hope that your manager would be like, hey, you've talked about this a few times now. It's becoming an issue. Like, let's try to figure this out. Because I know Colin would probably do something like that, and I would do that too.
In the absence of any information, like everybody's still going to draw a conclusion. So the more background you can provide, the better. Like I not to say that like it's obviously scary to bring that sort of stuff up, but if you don't bring it up, people are still going to ask why, and they're going to probably come up with an answer. And the more information you can provide for them, the better.
100%. Alex goes, how important are breaks during the job search? Ooh, it's hard to feel good about taking time off looking for work, but also burnout. All right, Colin, you go first. I have lots of thoughts on this, but I want to hear about you first.
I think you should try to approach it much in the same way that you would like a personal side project or whatnot. You can't just apply for jobs 24 hours a day and search for them either. Like at some point, there's a point of diminishing returns. It depends on where you're looking, what your skills are, all that stuff. But at some point, it is more productive for your job search to not keep searching because the quality of your work is going to go down. Much in the same way, at some point, it is productive for me not to code because my code is going to go downhill and then I'm going to have bugs to fix on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say this, Alex. So I actually had an engineer message me this. I would say probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And I'll never forget the message. He messaged me and he goes, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I'm on the job search and I can't find a job. And I'm sitting here walking my dog in a park, trying to clear my brain. And all I can think about is how I'm not doing something. And you know what I told this guy? I said, listen, I said, the only thing you need to focus on is the number one, the one intentional conversation a day. I talk about it all the time, one conversation a day. If you can at least get somebody on the phone or Zoom and talk with them and have an in-depth conversation about who they are, what they like about their job, all that stuff, then in my opinion, you've done your job for today. Everything else is a plus. And again, some people can take that and don't like it. Some people could like that. But for me, Alex, I think that the job search is a full-time job. And so you need to approach it like you do your job, right? You don't work all the time with your job, right? You take breaks. And so again, I would highly recommend it. Schedule time for lunch, schedule time for an afternoon walk, like do that stuff. But then again, focus on that one number, right? That one conversation. Colin, I don't know if you have more thoughts on that.
That's solid.
Sounds good. Elliot, because of distractions with my garden DIYs, etc., and phone distractions, I went on some ADHD meds now to go off more stuff. But yeah, now I struggle stepping away a lot. Need to hear messages. Yeah, again, right? Like people, one of the things that I've realized is I like bouncing around a lot with it at work and doing a bunch of different things. Hence the Recruiters Anonymous Unicorn Finders Guidance. I mean, just everything. And I do realize that I need to step away from it time to time. So again, I'm glad that you've acknowledged that. Colin, anything?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you found a solution here because it's something that there's no glory in just powering through it, and for an engineer especially, when you power through it, ESLint's going to find you.
Yeah, I know. John comes in. Learning how to disconnect from work when not working is extremely difficult now. With work from home and teams across several time zones, it's almost someone working on normal hours. Yeah, Colin, thoughts on this?
Yeah, so amongst SDC, we're across multiple continents, multiple time zones just on my team. And one nice thing about Teams is if you hover over each user, it shows what their time is. And like, oh, it'd be 6:30 here in Nashville, but it's 8:30 or 4:30, whichever way it is. Even before work from home and across several time zones, the internet is always on. Like if prod goes down at 2:30 in the morning, is that any worse or better than 2:30 in the afternoon? I guess on one level it is from an audience perspective.
Sure.
But if prod's down, my phone's going to ring and I've got to go after it and fix the problem.
Right.
It's really, I would say, like kind of a discipline that we've got to hold ourselves, and also figuring out how the people that you work with.
Mhm.
There, if there's somebody that I know, like there's people on my team who are Pacific time and I'm in Nashville, and I'm starting my day at 8:30, 9 o'clock. The sun may not be up over there yet. I either need to know that I need to like hold messages to them until they're awake, or I need to start a message with, hey, when you get up and get online, and just kind of learning your team. There's some people who, if I message them, they're going to respond, and I don't want them to respond at 7 o'clock. There's
Right.
other people who, if I message them early, I know that they're not going to respond until their working hours start. So it's kind of finding a dynamic with each person. I don't think
Yeah.
there's a one size fits all solution to this here, other than we have to respect each other's time zones and we have to respect working hours, because everybody can't be on all the time.
It's funny. When I was at Connect a Hot in Omaha last week, I caught up with um, uh, we were, we were at dinner and I was talking with the director of engineering at Accenture. He runs 300 people across the globe, and he was talking about the time difference. So yeah, it's a thing. One thing I've started to do to respect my team members that I used to not do, is schedule send. So schedule send on Slack, schedule send on Outlook. If I think of something at 6 o'clock at night, old Taylor would have fired it off immediately. But I also know that if I got an email from my boss at 6 o'clock, I would want to respond to it immediately. So I try to respect that time. So that's something I've tried to do as well.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I think it's Jonathan. My wife experienced vertigo for the first time before my workday start. I brought it up to my manager. He told me to take the day off, take care of her. Yeah, again, right. I mean, I think at the end of the day, I think I'm not going to overspeak. Because there's a lot of bad managers out there, but I think there's a lot of managers out there who would still want to do the right thing. And so
Yeah.
I just think you got to communicate.
I can only speak for me as a manager here, but if somebody came to me with that, I would say, by all means, take the rest of the day. And then the following day I would check in and say, hey, how are things going?
Yeah.
Do
Like
you,
I
do you
wouldn't
need
even
more
expect,
time?
right. Yeah.
And like whatever we might have lost in the 4 hours or 8 hours, like I would hope that it would be a great experience, like what you were just saying there, and it would cultivate a better relationship between the two.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of comments. This has hit a chord, and I knew it would with a lot of people. Since I've made candor my default about where I'm at, I've seen a marked difference in how it's received. Almost no one has ever responded negatively to sharing honesty, from my sharing honestly what's going on. Yeah, I mean, listen, like if you go, hey, Colin, this is where I'm at. I'm extremely stressed. I got a lot of stuff going on at home. I need to stay off. Colin be like, okay. I mean, what's Colin going to say? Like, no, I don't know. Like,
my answer for that, if somebody on my team came to me with that, I would say, cool, I'll see you tomorrow and let me know
yeah,
how I can help, or something
yeah,
to that effect. The hardest thing about that, I think, honestly, isn't saying it to your manager or saying it to your teammates or whatever. It's being in a place where you are comfortable to say that.
yeah,
Because as a manager, I of course want to know if you're having problems and what can I do to help. But you're also having to tell people, hey, I'm having problems with something. And that can be scary and uncomfortable. And that's probably the biggest challenge to overcome, because now you're not presenting yourself in this perfect image of, I'm this awesome person. I got everything figured out. My code never breaks the build. Prod never goes down. I'm a perfect engineer. Actually,
mhm,
I'm saying I'm having some stuff that I'm trying to struggle through.
yeah,
It'll make other people, honestly, from my perspective, I will think more of you that you are comfortable bringing that to me. But it's also scary and challenging to go bring that to somebody else. And I respect that. It's not a simple, hey, how are you doing? I'm fine. Like that's an
right,
easy answer. How are you doing? I've got a lot of stuff going on in my life right now. I might need some time. That is a scary bridge to cross. When I was younger, I wouldn't have felt in any way comfortable saying that to my manager. Hell, I might even struggle saying that to some of my friends. And now I'm
mhm,
bringing that to the workplace. So
yeah,
like I get that this on some level is scary, but it is probably one of the most productive things you can do to deal with the problem that you're facing, is to bring it to other people and see how they can help. Like nobody should ever have to go at this alone.
right. I love that. I love that. A lot of comments. Lord have mercy. I'm trying to get through them. Let's see here. Elliot comes in. Talking to your manager about these things is so hard, though. How did you learn how to have these hard conversations? I'm going to be honest with you. Counseling. I am in counseling to have hard conversations. For those of you Enneagram fans, I'm a 3, and in unhealth, and when things are nervous, it pivots to a 9, which is the peacemaker, which is let's not have any confrontation. So it's something that I'm having to work on. Colin?
It is extremely scary the first time that you would bring something like this to your manager. The first time that I did this, I was hella uncomfortable. I think I
Yeah.
was worried, oh, he's going to fire me because I have stuff going on in my life.
Mhm.
Um, it gets easier with practice. I know that's kind of a cliche thing to say, but once you're kind of comfortable with being who you are, like I'm the guy that sits in front of soda bottles and bobbleheads. I am who I am, and if I'm having a hard day, I would really hope that on my team, folks would bring that to me. So from a manager side, I try to cultivate a place where people are comfortable with that. If we have a bad day at work or there's something going on as a company that's rough, I usually try to reach out to everyone on my team and say, "How are you doing?" I try to
Mhm.
be honest with them how I'm feeling. And if I kind of start the process, I think it kind of gets it going. If your manager doesn't do that, there's still nothing wrong with
Yeah.
going to them and saying, "Hey, here's how I'm feeling, and here's the real deal." If they respond negatively, then you've learned that maybe that's not something I want to do. Maybe you need to find a different manager type stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that most managers, especially like good managers, are going to be happy and receptive to you saying that, even though it is scary, it feels
Mhm.
scary. That's but it really shouldn't be. And
Yeah.
once you kind of establish that relationship, that fear hopefully will go away.
Yeah, for sure. Ian comes in. My biggest distraction seems to be Taylor Plummer. I love it. It's good to see you, man. All right, so we have a lot of comments here. I want to go and wrap up, respect Colin's time, and I got to bounce to something else. Colin, last two questions for you. And again, thanks for coming on, man. I knew it was going to be a blast, and we'll obviously have to have you on for part two since and this was totally fine. This was very audience led, which was amazing. So first thing, any tools, technology, tech trends that you or your team are evaluating right now and that you may want to share with the crew?
Um, I think everyone's trying to figure out some piece of how AI is going to affect each of our
So
roles
tired of
and,
hearing about
and what the
AI.
answer is
I'm
there.
tired.
I don't have the answer to that yet. I do know that GitHub Copilot's pretty cool. It's
Yeah,
helped me debug some stuff. Uh, the answer probably isn't a black and white. It's not like it's bad, it's good.
sure.
But that's a short, high level answer to something that was on my mind last week.
I love that. Last question I always end. Um, you know, we had guidance. This is show's called Guidance Counselor 2.0 because we had guidance counselors in middle school, high school, kind of college, but now as adults, we don't really have like a guidance counselor. What would be your biggest career advice to your younger self?
Oh man, we don't have enough time. It is 100% very clearly to reach out to others when I need help, be it LinkedIn, be it coworkers, be it my manager. When I started in this, I had imposter syndrome to the max. I probably still do. I thought I was a lousy engineer. I didn't know what I was doing. And I wanted to try to hide those feelings from people. And my career grew only when I started getting comfortable with other people, letting them look at my code, letting them
Mm,
critique my conference talk submission, something like that.
yeah,
It There's a lot of places out there that offer help and most people do not take advantage of them. And I think
I
it's
agree.
because they are trying to fight an internal battle with themselves. Like
Yeah,
you mentioned that conference earlier, Clark lets people go talk to him about their submissions to speak
yeah,
at his conference. And he says that most people don't go. That is a man offering help and people are not taking him up on it. I think most managers would offer help if somebody said, you know what, Vue is blowing my mind right now, or Nuxt is blowing my mind. I need help with this. I
yeah.
would say, okay, well, I don't want you to struggle. Like, what
Right.
can we do to help?
Exactly.
Help is always out there, and I think the biggest bridge to cross is in your own head.
Yeah.
And that'd be my biggest advice for a younger Colin without a beard that is rapidly graying, is to go and get help from others because it's out there, and it's helped my career every time I've done it.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, y'all, thanks for tuning in today. We appreciate it. Go connect with Colin on Twitter, on Facebook. He posts a lot of his running stuff on I said Facebook, Instagram.
I'm everywhere. It's
Yeah, you're everywhere.
there's not a lot of Colin Lords out there, so if you find one, it's probably me.
I love it. I love it. Colin, stay on real quick so I can say bye to you off air. But y'all, thank you again for tuning in this morning. Tomorrow, I have my guy Shashi Lowe. Shashi is another connection I met at that conference down in Austin. He is a senior engineer at Microsoft. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. He has a huge passion for helping people, especially junior devs. So it's going to be a great conversation tomorrow. Y'all have a good one. we'll see y'all tomorrow.